Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show, Wednesday, February 30. And Cameron and Conor Mack ready to break down the college basketball card. No time to waste. We'll get right to it. We got Elon and James Madison, top of the rotation. This is a late afternoon start with this one. We've got James Madison up to 9.5-point home favorites here. The total's gone up as well. I agree with the moves in both of these cases. With James Madison getting the money, this is a team that's playing good basketball right now in the Colonial Athletic Association. They played their best basketball here down the stretch. Elon, on the other hand, you see them playing a very high-scoring game last time out with a Delaware team that doesn't play fast, that's not necessarily a great offensive team by any stretch of the imagination. So that was a little bit surprising to see. What we're looking at in this game is maybe this game to go over the total more than the side. I think the side's moved a little bit too much. I wouldn't want to lay 9.5 now with this James Madison side, even though I do agree with it. I think it's just a bit too much to lay now at the 9.5. But I do like this game over the total. And we have seen James Madison, especially at home, score well. Not be afraid to give up some points, though, as well. And we did see Elon's offense come to life the last game. So I'm on the over here at one. I got 143.5. It's gone up a bit, but I agree with the move. Conor, what's your thoughts here with Elon and James Madison?
Yeah, I didn't play this one. I think the market's it was at 7.5. It was a little bit. I like James Madison. I didn't play it, but 9.5, it's starting to get up there. They're definitely the best team in this conference. I don't know how much so the over, only because Elon doesn't really score. I know they put up 70 against Delaware. I don't think it gets to the over today, but I didn't bet either. So they were quick passes for me.
Yeah, this is a quick pass for me next. Houston, East Carolina. Houston, 16.5-point road favorites, 132.5 the total. Houston's good enough to name their score. They could cover this number. There's no question about that. The question is their focus? They do have a big game on deck this weekend. You're not so sure if they're going to have full 40 minutes to take on this East Carolina team, that full focus. But definitely there's been a struggle for the Pirates. So this is a game I'm staying off of completely. I know the total's getting bet up, and East Carolina's defense has been hemorrhaging points lately. But you're not going to get pace, and you're going to get defense from Houston. So that's the scary part of agreeing with this move up when it comes to the total. I'm passing. What do you think, Conor, with Houston ECU?
Yeah, I got a small play on Houston, but they've been just so dominant. I'd be leery. They've covered, 6 in a row. That defense just seems to smother, and they put away teams. And I've been off a few of these games. I even bet against them once or twice, thinking the team could cover the number. Tulane, I catch an 18. That didn't work out for me so much. So I got a small bet on Houston to cover the number. And, yeah, nothing on the total because they could smother and stay under for sure. 70-48 the last game, with SMU. I could see something very similar with this East Carolina team.
Fordham and Umass. This one is just a ugly game to say the least. You got Umass 11.5-point home favorites, 131 the total in this game. Fordham has started to cover a couple of these big point spreads as double-digit dogs. They did at Davidson, getting inside the number. They did at Rhode Island. Last time out, though, they get blitzed at home by Duquesne, 86-62, and that's the problem. I know for a fact I can't lay double digits here, or I don't want to lay a double digits here with UMass, but the last time they played someone in the stratosphere, I guess, of Fordham was Lasalle, and I think Lasalle's a little bit better than Fordham, but still, they're talking about bottom-tier team in this conference. And they beat Lasalle 83-67, and they did cover. They won by 16. So this is one of those games where I could see UMass maybe pulling away late and covering. I could see UMass having a tough time covering this number against a Fordham team that, because they've been power rated so low, they've started to cover some numbers. I could see it easily coming right close to where the spread is here, 12, 11.5. So a lot of variance. To be honest, I haven't bet Fordham all year. This is the one spot I did consider it, but ultimately, I decided I'd pass, and I left the game alone. What's your thoughts, Conor? Fordham, UMass.
Yeah, I thought about this one. This is one of my last ones I checked off. I bet them a couple times. I took them against Davidson and Rhode Island, and they covered. And I was thinking about this one hard. I just don't think it's enough. But like I said with them before when we talked about Fordham, if you can keep the game, they can keep it in the 60s, getting 12 or 13, 14, because they're not going to score more than 60. That's a fact. They just can't do it. They finally broke 60. They scored 62 last game, but they gave up 86 finally. That defense leaked. So I just don't love it. I'd lean with the points with Fordham, but I passed here.
All right, pass with Fordham and UMass. There are some injuries, too, for UMass. Be aware of that, including McCrory. He's the big one for this UMass team, questionable right now. So make sure you're aware of that. Next up, we've got South Carolina and Florida in the SEC. We've got Florida 8.5 point home favorites, total 151.5. This is definitely not a spot I'm looking to take Florida, but they're also playing their best basketball. And I don't know if South Carolina is good enough, even though the spot is probably not the greatest for Florida, to take advantage of it. South Carolina has really struggled, particularly on the road. They haven't fared well in these step-up-in-class games against better competition in the conference. Most of their wins have come against the bottom feeders like Georgia and Vanderbilt, a lot of those lower-tier SEC teams. I do like the over in this game, though. I'm a little shocked this total's been bet down as much as it is. South Carolina can't stop anything right now, and they showed it against Vanderbilt on the weekend. I was on the over in that South Kakalaki Vanderbilt game. It flew over the total, got into the 160s. I think South Carolina definitely is going to struggle. Florida, I'll give Mike White credit. He's got a team that's got athleticism, that's finally got some scores, some shooters, some balance inside and outside. And instead of slowing them down and putting the leashes on these players, he's letting them run. They are playing at a much faster and crisper and more brisk pace and tempo. And I think you're going to see that here in this game once again tonight. And South Carolina, they play moderately quick, and they don't play any defense. So I'm a little puzzled why this total's come down. I like over 151.5 here with South Carolina and Florida. And Jansen in the chat saying I'm on South Carolina. I honestly would lean that way, but I just haven't seen enough, especially on the road against good competition from South Carolina. I think that's a terrible spot for Florida. Clear flat spot after a huge road win against West Virginia, where they played very well. But I lean South Carolina, but I don't have the guts to take it. But I do like the over. Connor, what do you think? South Carolina, Florida.
Yeah, I'm leaning South Carolina too. I haven't took it yet. These teams, this is just classic flat spot, especially with Florida. The last few years they have a big win, they come home and they kind of can lay an egg. They just can't stay consistent.
They've done this before. I agree.
Yeah, they've done it tons of times. I wish it was over 10. I'd really like South Carolina. I was catching 10.5. I lean that way. But yeah, watching Florida overs have been good for me. 3, 4 in a row. And South Carolina, like you said, has been flying over too. They're giving up 80, 90, 100. They gave up 109 to Auburn. So I'm with you here. I think the line's a little light at 152. So I was on the over as well.
All right, next up, we've got NC Greensboro, the Citadel. Greensboro, 10.5, 11-point road favorites here in this one. The total currently 158.5, 159. The Citadel are pretty much a team that I a long time ago swore off betting them over, but they have gone four of their last 5 under because of just how inflated and high their totals have been. We'll see how this one goes. I know Greensboro, they'll welcome playing at a brisk pace because Greensboro likes doing that as well. We'll see, but Greensboro is on a roll right now. I mean, it's tough to step in front of Greensboro. 6 straight wins, 6 straight covers. They've played extremely well. That's why they're certainly the better of these two teams. That's why the point spread is what it is. But Citadel's also been at times plucky, catching points. The last time they were home dogs was Wofford, and they got inside the number, 8.5-point home dogs, 77-69. This could be the game where the Spartans' 6-game straight up an ATS streak comes to an end here. I'd actually lean Citadel here, plus 11. They've, Wofford comparable to Greensboro, and they hung in that game pretty well. I lean to the home dog, and I lean to the over here in this one, Connor. What do you think with Citadel hosting Greensboro?
So, yeah, Citadel had all those overs early on, and then the inflated numbers. And like you said, 4 out of the last 5, I think you said, were under. I have nothing on the total. I think it could stay under again. I mean, it's still 160. Right away, Greensboro's the better team, but Citadel's the ultimate backdoor cover team here in this spot. I don't love it enough because Greensboro's just too good. It was a difficult one. This is a game I want to take the points with Citadel. I just think competition-wise, Greensboro's better, so I had to pass.
All right, we stay in the SoCon here. East Tennessee State, Mercer. Mercer 2.5-point home favorites, 144 the total in this game. Two pretty good teams here in this conference, so it should be a pretty good matchup here, both with identical records. Numbers pretty short for Mercer considering the strength they've had at home this year. This Mercer Bears team, they've won 6 of their 7 home games this season. I know East Tennessee State's the team that people recognize. In the Steve Forbes era, this team was always one of the better teams in the SoCon. They were always one of those teams that were right there to win it. This team certainly had a lot of, they lose the coach. They lose a lot of key players from last year's team, but there's no doubt they're playing good ball right now. 4 of their last 5 they've won and covered. The only loss was on the road at Wofford, very good Terriers team. So absolutely no shame in that at all for East Tennessee State losing that game. They have been solid on the road for the most part, except for one game where at Furman in conference play, they lost by 12. I know it's been 2 losses in a row for Mercer, but both of those were on the road against 2 really good SoCon teams, Greensboro and Wofford. Now they return home. It feels like a good bounce back spot for Mercer. Small bet for me because I respect ETSU and the way they're playing right now, but a small bet for me, especially as long as this doesn't get above -3. It's a small play for me and a lean toward Mercer. Connor, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one with Mercer. I got it at 1.5. This one kind of jumped out to me late last night. I think they're the better team. They're at home, even though East Tennessee has looked good. Like you said, I remember a good game they played against Furman, a couple other ones. But I think Mercer at home, catching under 3. I think they can cover this one. So I'm on Mercer with you.
All right, next up, we got Chattanooga and Western Carolina. We've got the Catamounts, a slight home favorite here. 1.5, pretty much across the board here. 146.5 the total in this game. Pretty interesting matchup here. Chattanooga's kind of started off conference play really strong and sort of declined a little bit since then. They're only 3-5 in their last 8 games straight up and against the spread. So it's been a little bit of a struggle for them. Most of their wins have come against, Samford, middle tier or bottom tier. Teams in this conference. So it's tricky to trust them. But at the same point in time, it's Western Carolina prior to barely beating Citadel the other day, 76-75, and they didn't cover in that game either. It's been a rough go for the Western Carolina team. We've talked about how they've gone under the total a lot more lately. It's because their offense is really bogged down quite a bit more in recent games. So you got Western Carolina kind of slumping. They did bust out of that, that long extended 7-game losing streak with that win, although it was by the skin of their teeth. Maybe it gives them some momentum here. I don't know if Chattanooga on the road has not been anything to write home about. You look at series history with these 2 teams. Western Carolina's kind of owned it. 3 straight wins and covers for Western over Chattanooga. So if I had to, I'd lean to Western Carolina, but I don't love it enough to bet it. So it's a pass. Connor, what do you think here?
Yeah, there's no way Western Carolina should be favored, I think, by 1.5, So this is the reason I like Chattanooga a bit here. Catching 2, I see 1.5 now. I'm going to take it money line. I think they're playing a little bit better right now. Western Carolina struggled to even get a win there for a minute. So I'm on Chattanooga. Catching the 1.5, or like I'm going to just take it money line.
All right, liking Chattanooga here. Yeah, again, this is a tough one for me because it's 2 teams that in this spot, I'm not sure what we're going to get, but I think you can make a case for either one. Connor making the case for Nuga here. Seton Hall, Providence. Seton Hall, 2.5-point road favorites, 142 the total. And yes, I'm on Seton Hall again, even though it's been a little bit of a rough go. Trying to back this team. They lost a gut-wrencher to Providence at home earlier this season. Good revenge spot, meaningful revenge spot. The month is now February, and this is when Seton Hall usually plays their best basketball. And I'm not going to penalize Seton Hall for losing the last few games they've played. Creighton and Villanova, are you kidding me? What do you expect? Those are 2 amazing teams here in the Big East, the 2 best teams in the Big East. Providence has been way too flighty, way too erratic, up and down. I don't necessarily trust them, especially as Seton Hall's definitely coming with purpose here. I've read some stuff from, Kale and Sandro Mamukelishvili, some of these players on Seton Hall saying they're excited to play Providence again because of the bitter taste in their mouth from the first game against Providence. So I think you get Seton Hall's best. And if we get their best, I think they can win. So again, it's I love Seton Hall at pick. I still like it enough 2.5 if that's what you can get, which it is now. I think there's still a little value, but I think Seton Hall gets the win here. C-Mac, what do you think?
This one's tough. Both these teams have driven me nuts this year.
Yep.
Between Seton Hall and Providence. Providence, that loss on Saturday, it was ugly.
Exactly. Coming off the Georgetown loss, that's not good. You shouldn't lose to Georgetown, period. No way.
That Bynum, like I talked about, I think on Saturday, I think it's too big. I don't trust Seton Hall enough. I think they get right. Every time I've been on them lately, I lose. And then on the other side, if I was catching maybe 4.5, I'd be all over Providence. And it's pushed that way a little bit. I want a little more than the 2.5. I want a full 3, 3.5, 4. So this was a game I had to pass. I didn't see value either way. Two teams desperately need a victory. You got Providence at home, usually plays well in February, and you got Seton Hall needs to win this game to get into the tournament if they want to. So I think it's going to be a tight one. So I didn't see any value. I had to pass. I'm going to watch some of it, though, for sure.
All right, we got Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, ACC action. Virginia Tech, 3.5, 4-point road favorites, 135.5 the total. Don't love the value, but I think Virginia Tech's the better team. So I lean Virginia Tech. Pittsburgh, look, they've been showing up at home. They've played some tough games at home. They beat Duke at home. They've had some good performances, but they ran into, I don't know what happened to them against Notre Dame, although Notre Dame looked really good.
Yeah.
Watch out for Notre Dame. Maybe a bet on team moving forward a little bit, the Fighting Irish. That's 2 blowout wins in a row for them. Now, Pitt and Wake are, bottom tier ACC teams, but maybe keep an eye on Mike Bray's team. And he is a good coach, Mike Bray. Maybe he's got Notre Dame looking up here as we get into February. But nevertheless, it was a terrible game from Pitt. I don't trust them. Virginia Tech's a one-way team for me. I'm betting on them or I'm leaving them alone. You know how I feel about the team. They're good. They're well coached by Mike Young. They shoot the 3-ball quite well. They're certainly a better offensive team, more fluid than Pitt, who can go into extended droughts when Champagne doesn't fill it up for them. So to me, this is a game where I leaned at Va Tech, but just a lean because I've seen enough of Pitt where sometimes when they're getting these 4 points at home or in this kind of range, they can rise up and get the job done. C-Mac, what do you think? Va Tech, Pitt?
Yeah, I like both these teams in certain spots, and I like Va Tech a little bit here. I think the number, I just don't like 4 in this spot. Man, I love them against Virginia. It seemed like a ton of people liked Virginia the other night, and I couldn't believe it. And Va Tech played well. Pittsburgh, I need more points at home here. I just offensively, lately they've been just getting gashed. Defensively, they just have been giving up a ton of points. And Va Tech has been an under machine. I think they've had 6 in a row. I kind of think the total's dipped a lot here. I'm going to look towards the over 136. I think you can get up and over the total here.
Yeah, you kind of felt that way yesterday about Indiana, Illinois as well.
I got lucky a little
although
bit.
It needed overtime at the end of because that game was flying over the total pace-wise
in the
early,
first half. Yeah.
Then it just dragged to a halt, and at the end of the day, you needed that overtime to happen to get that game over the total. So odd how that worked out, but these totals again. Just like I felt about Illinois, that total yesterday could go either way, in my opinion, with this total. So that's why I'm staying off that. VCU, Rhode Island. We've got VCU 2.5 point road favorites here in this game. The total's gone up. I agree, 136.5 to 140. People saw what I saw. What's Rhode Island doing at 136.5? From a total standpoint, it was a bit too low for them. I agree with this. I do like this game up and over the total here between these two teams. Should be an interesting game. Rhode Island has definitely had their tough times lately in terms of being able to handle some of these better teams. They lost to Dayton, 67-56 rather. They lost to Duquesne. They've had some head-scratching losses. They got lost to Richmond on their resume at home. VCU, other than a second-half collapse against Bonnie, they've played pretty good. They beat Dayton and Lasalle back-to-back games, beat George Washington, and they lost 83-68 in the previous meeting earlier this season to Rhode Island. But I like this spot for VCU. Not only do I like the over, but I like VCU. And Fats Russell may not play. He's questionable with a heel injury, and important he is to this Rhode Island Rams team. And if he's not able to go, that's definitely a significant absence for them. And you can't like the fact that the Rhode Island Rams, 1-8 against the spread. Their last 9 road games versus a team with a winning record when the team with a winning record's playing at home. So stepping up, good teams, comparable team better than them. On the road, at home, Rhode Island has struggled in those situations. So to me, I would look toward VCU here. I agree with this move. I like VCU and I like over the total. Connor, what do you think of this A10 battle?
Yeah, I agree with the move too. I like how VCU's been playing lately. And the key is Fats Russell. I mean, it's his heel, this injury. It just seems like it's been bothering him, really nagging him. Even if he plays, I don't know how good it's going to be. And I don't know if he goes tonight. I'm going to be watching this right up too because I lean VCU as well. And with him, if he's out, I don't really like the over as much with him. With him in, he can bring those extra points. I lean towards the over. With him out, I look towards the under.
All right, LSU, Alabama. We've got Alabama 8.5-point home favorites, 163.5, 164 the total. You can argue there's not a great deal of value here on Alabama. I get it. They're laying 8.5 here. But to me, LSU was just destroyed defensively by Alabama in the first meeting. What's changed since then? This is still an LSU team that can't win close games. This is still an LSU team that's not really well coached, in my opinion, by Will Wade. This is not a LSU team that plays consistent defense. Now, they did a little bit against Texas Tech, but Texas Tech missed some wide open shots, turned the ball over a ton. But then down the stretch, Texas Tech, when they had to score, they did. Again, LSU still can't get any stops when it matters most. And I like the idea of backing Alabama here, coming off a frustrating loss. They weren't happy about it against the shorthanded Oklahoma Sooners on Saturday. I think you get Alabama coming back strong here on their home floor. I'll lay it with Alabama. I like my opinion of this LSU team. People are still thinking, oh, LSU, look at the talent they have. I don't care. The talent doesn't mean squat to me. They're not playing to the level of the talent. There's no defense to be had on this team. I think Alabama probably carves them up again. It's also a bad matchup for this team because even if they were a good defensive team, their weakness on that end of the floor is what Alabama can exploit. And that's definitely a concern. So I think, and you got Alabama off a loss. You would think they fire back strong here with a good game. I'll lay it here with Alabama minus the 8.5. And I'm sure not betting it under. You know, you can argue that the total's too high, but I'm not betting this thing under. LSU didn't stop Alabama at all in the first meeting, and that game soared over the total. It wouldn't shock me if this does get over 163. I like favored and over here. C-Mac, what about you with LSU, Alabama?
Yeah, I'm going to stay off this one, even though I think Bama, they're back home. I think they play better. LSU's defense, like you said, still is horrible. They got their ass kicked. I think they played better in the second game. I don't see them getting blown out again. I wish I was catching about another couple points. I'd be on LSU. But at 8.5, I don't see enough value. I could see Bama winning this one again by 10 to 12. But I leaned wanting to take LSU, just not enough. They don't play well enough defense, missing open shots. They get sloppy. And their one guy's out. What's his face is out. Their big man's out, right?
Yes. Yeah, still out.
Yeah. Yep. So that was another key that, I just can't do it. I needed more points. I need him in there. So I had to pass.
All right. Next up for VMI Wofford. We've got Wofford 7.5-point home favorites, 148.5 the total in this one. VMI went through a nice little cover run and actually still pretty much are on one. They were 6-1 ATS in 7 games. They lost their last game against Greensboro, 76-59. Now they'll go on the road, face Wofford, who, it's a question of can they cover this number, Wofford, and against this VMI team. You look at series history with the Virginia Military Institute taking on Wofford. They've definitely had some consistency issues. Let's put it mildly against Wofford from one game to the next. We'll see how it goes here in this one. Not much of an opinion though on this one overall. Last couple times they've been on the road, they missed the cover against ETSU. The game went over the total. 83-80 against Mercer. The game went over the total. They've actually gotten into some real shootouts on the road here. So that this total in the high 140s, actually, I think the over does have some value. This is a lower total than you get sometimes with VMI. They've trended over on the road. So I'm not betting the side, but more I look at it, the more I'm intrigued by maybe a play on over 148 in this game with VMI and Wofford. Connor, did you get involved in this game?
I didn't. I think it's too many points. But VMI hasn't looked well lately. Wofford's last 3 have been under, but VMI's given up a few points their last few games too. It was just both ways. I didn't find an edge. I didn't like the side or the total. If this one gets humming and shots are dropped by Wofford, I can drain threes. And VMI's defense is pretty soft, especially lately. I think it could get over this 148.5.
All right, St. Louis taking on LaSalle. St. Louis Billikens, 11.5-point favorites is where they opened. It's 12.5 now pretty much across the board. The total in this one around 140.5. Definitely to me, this is a spot where I think St. Louis could roll. I didn't mind laying the points here. Didn't work for West Virginia last night. And I'm always leery usually of these double-digit favorites. I don't bet them often, but if I was going to lay double digits on the road with anybody today, it would be in this spot here with St. Louis. I think they're just way better than LaSalle. LaSalle's having a real tough time of it. St. Louis has had so many disruptions. You always worry about that in the back of your mind, that maybe this St. Louis Billikens team is just not going to be fluid enough on the basketball court. They had the one game against Dayton. They lost off the hiatus, 76-71. Then they were supposed to play Richmond on Friday, and that game gets canceled. So you can argue that it's tough to cover 12.5-point road favorites when, you've only played one game in a month. But I think the fact they played that game against Dayton, they were rusty, they weren't sharp, they weren't in sync, they didn't play well. But I think that just playing that game helps them here. At least they have a game under their belt since that hiatus. And if they're even bringing their B+ game tonight, the Billikens, how's LaSalle going to score against St. Louis with how good their defense can be when they're locked in? That's what I worry about. And if they can't find easy baskets, and I don't think they will, St. Louis can gradually, they're not one of those teams that just run away and hides, but they can gradually build the margin and end up pulling away, I think, in the second half and winning and covering this number. So I'm on the Billikens here, even though it's a steep number on the road here. I think they're got a chance to really, in a get-well spot, take care of business against LaSalle. Connor, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, this is one favorite that I like, double-digit. I'm with you. I think the Billikens, I think they need a big game, just for, themselves, for all these pauses they've had and stops. And LaSalle's a team to get right against. They played a few good games for them. But if you play sound basketball like St. Louis can at their level, they should take care of LaSalle 15+ easy. So I have a small one on St. Louis as well to cover the 12.
All right, we like the Billikens, both of us there. Western Michigan, Bowling Green. Bowling Green, 12.5-point home favorites, 142.5 the total. I'm not going to even say a word about this game because I don't trust Bowling Green laying doubles, and I don't want Western Michigan, and I don't think, and I don't know if Western scores enough to get the game over the total. So I want no part of this one. Connor, did you find an angle here? Western Michigan, Bowling Green?
No way. Western's just horrible. And you want to lay 12.5 with Bowling Green? I don't want to. That's, Western Michigan's that bad, but I don't want to hold a Bowling Green ticket 12.5. And I think it goes over, but Western Michigan has a tough time scoring. They're one of the teams in the MAC that just, they struggle to score. So I lean towards this over 143, but it's just a lean.
All right, next up, we got Central Florida, Memphis. Memphis, 11-point home favorites, 136.5 the total. This is a tricky rematch handicap because obviously if you watched the first meeting, it was all Memphis. What was it, 93-47? Like, it was just a complete destruction. And Memphis is not a team I'm betting against right now. They have clearly flipped a switch, found their best game of the season. They're playing their best basketball of the year right now. And I'm not stepping in front of them. And Central Florida has been a massive disappointment, a massive flop this year under Johnny Dawkins. Obviously, we know, they don't have BJ anymore, the guard that was so good for them. They don't have Taco Fall anymore. I mean, they've lost some key pieces from better Central Florida teams, including the team that was in the tournament just recently. But to see them fall off the way they have, still a little bit surprising. They've declined so much. I ain't stepping in front of Memphis. So If I had to, I'd lay the 11 because I don't know what changes one game to the next. You could say revenge for Central Florida, but again, I don't like the revenge angles if I don't think the team is as good as the opponent, and I believe that here. So for me, it's a pass. Connor, what do you think? UCF Memphis Part 2.
Yeah, this was a pass for me too. Memphis is playing so well. I don't think they have a beatdown like that again. Central Florida is just so hard to pin down. Their offense isn't very good. Their defense, they go through stretches where they can't score, stretches where they can score. I've watched them 4 or 5 times this year. I mean, they're catching 11. I'd lean with them, but Memphis has been after a team that I bet probably 7 or 8 straight times and cashed against them and on unders because they couldn't get to 60 points. Now all of a sudden, Memphis is scoring 90 points. They look unreal. Whatever they're drinking down there, whatever they're doing, or whatever X's and O's he's crafted up. He's definitely got him playing good ball, Penny Hardaway, and I've been shocked. So the only way would be Memphis. I'm not betting this one, but I'd lean Memphis. I wouldn't go against him here.
All right, Tulane and Wichita State. Wichita State 11.5-point home favorites with the Shockers at home, 139 the total in this game. How about Tulane? Very nice road win for them. Early start game earlier this week against Temple. Nice victory for the Green Wave. It's been a bit of a rough run for them, but to see them snap a 3-game losing streak, beat Temple 164 too, just rout the Owls in that game. A pretty impressive win. We'll see how they fare here against Wichita State, who are coming off a home win in overtime against UCF. This is a tough one because, to me, Tulane doesn't necessarily match up well with Wichita, but you always look for these little signs that maybe a team's ready to go on a run. And when they've been struggling so much like Tulane has, and they finally get that big win, maybe it propels them and gets them some confidence, gives them some life, and they become an undervalued team and start covering numbers. We're going to find that out tonight. Tulane might be a team to bet on the rest of the way if they look good again tonight, but I don't know if one game against a, very erratic Temple team is enough to make that assessment. So for me, it's not a game. And I like Wichita. I've been on Wichita a lot, but I'm not going to lay 11.5 with them in this spot. So we'll see. This is a good gauge. If Tulane's good again tonight, competitive again tonight in defeat, maybe this is a team to ride moving forward. And remember, they got Ron Hunter, a damn good coach. So don't sleep on maybe this Green Wave team getting better late in the season. Usually well-coached teams do that. And this is a well-coached team. Connor, what do you think, Tulane, Wichita? Yeah,
Tulane, that was a big win against Temple, especially with Chaney. Everyone thought Temple was going to, the death of him, they'd play, and I think they were just out of it. I'm going to take a little piece of the Green Wave today, catching this many points. Wichita's better, but their only bad losses were to Houston by 21 and to Houston by 23. But I see they lost to Memphis by 6, and then they've started, had a bunch of wins. So 2 bad losses, to Houston. So other than that, I don't know if Tulane's should be this big a number to Wichita State. I don't know if Wichita should be favored by this much. We'll see tonight, but I'm going to take this many points with Tulane here.
All right, Oklahoma State TCU. We've got Oklahoma State 4.5-point road favorites, 141 the total. You give me this kind of a number to bet against TCU, I'm usually not going to pass it up. And that's why I am on Oklahoma State here. TCU to me has just been a wretched season for them, for the most part. We'll see how they go here against now they did, battle really well for themselves against Missouri. Don't get me wrong. But, that's what happens with bad teams, too. They have that gutted out effort against a Missouri team that maybe was looking ahead to Kentucky. We'll get to that game in just a bit. But they gave Missouri a good game. Let's give them credit for that, TCU. And they haven't had many good performances this year, but such a deflating way to end that game. And now you got to come back and play Oklahoma State. And I think it's a tough spot, tough ask, short enough price. I like the Cowboys here and Mike Boynton and crew to get the job done here on the road. Connor, what do you think? Oklahoma State, TCU.
Yeah, I got to take the Cowboys here. The number's kind of short, and you think, is this, looks a little weird, but I got to take it. It didn't me 5. They won 4 in a row. Oh, sorry, they lost to Baylor in between their 4 out of 5. I thought they played a good game. against Arkansas. They're getting a bit healthier, Oklahoma
Yep.
State. So I like them here laying the 5.
All right, next up, Big East, a couple Big East games in a row. Villanova, St. John's. Villanova, 10-point road favorites, 151 the total. I'm tempted really by St. John's getting this many points. They're playing great. They're playing their best basketball. They're surging straight up in ATS right now. Julian Champagne, fun player to watch on this St. John's team. Almost pissed it away against Marquette, but they hung on for the win on Sunday, winning outright as dogs. I was on St. John's in that game. I'm leaning toward coming back with them today, but man, it's tough. Man. It's so tough to go against Nova. It just is.
Yeah.
Clearly, they're clearly over the hiatus because they had a bad first half against Seton Hall, and they came back strong in the second half. They had a bit of a shaky first half against Providence, and then they rolled from that point on. And Villanova put the boots again to Seton Hall. Now, Seton Hall made it interesting down the stretch, but not enough to cover, and Villanova gets the road win and cover at Seton Hall. And look, St. John's is out on a run, but they've not played anyone up to the caliber of Villanova during this run. So that's my conflict here. I want to back St. John's again, but I'm going to pump the brakes on the fade Villanova train again because I've been run over by that a couple of times. Conor, what do you think? Villanova, St. John's?
Yeah, because I'm one of the biggest Villanova backers I've been. I think, they're right under Gonzaga and Baylor right there. I think 3 or 4 or 5 team in the country. God, I just look at St. John's, though. They've won 4 in a row. They beat a beat-up UConn team. UConn, without their best player, Book Knight, the whole thing. But a great win against DePaul. Yeah, and the Marquette, not that the Marquette win's huge, but I might get there. I might take the 10 with St. John's. I haven't bet it yet. When it gets you scratching your head too much, sometimes you got to not bet it. But I just see catching 10 at home because I think Villanova, and maybe take first half. We talked about Villanova's struggles early on in games.
Yes.
How the second half they just turn it on. Maybe look to St. John's to get out and cover a first half number, get them plus probably 6, and just go that way instead of full game.
So we got Creighton and Georgetown. Creighton 14-point home favorites, 150 the total. No, I'm not taking Georgetown. I wouldn't advise anybody to take Georgetown. But Creighton is 0-2 against the spread. Their last 2 at home. They're way overvalued. They're way overpriced at home. I just don't know if I can completely, fully get on board with trusting Georgetown here in this game. I know they beat Providence, and I was shocked because I was on Providence Saturday, and I recommended Providence in that game. And Providence got out to this fast start, but boy, Georgetown rallied, came from behind, won that game. They're actually playing better defense, and boy, they better hope they bring it tonight against this, very explosive Creighton team who shoot the ball always usually very well in Omaha on that home court. But this is a game where, I know Georgetown beat Providence. Maybe things are going to start looking up for them, but I need to see what they do here, and I'm not in a rush to go against Creighton with this Georgetown team, who's just, to me, still been way too disappointing. One result is not enough to flip my opinion. I need to see more. Conor, what do you think? Georgetown, Creighton?
Yeah, one game, I can't jump on it either. Creighton's been able to blow teams out when they get hot, especially at home. They're a lot better there than they are on the road. And you're right, Georgetown hasn't been able to score lately, I mean, their games have just been low scoring. It's been a bit of a strange from last year and early on when they were giving up 80, 90. Now it's low 50s, 60s. So, I got to pass here. It's a ton of points. I'd like to take them, but I'm going to watch this one, see how Georgetown plays.
All right, Virginia, NC State. We've got Virginia 6.5-point road favorites, 126 the total. And there's still parts of me that just say it's tough to always consistently lay points on the road with Virginia. However, I will say another thing. Lately on the road, it's been good for them. Prior to Virginia Tech, they lost on the weekend. But before that, they won and covered at Clemson, won and covered at BC, won and covered at Notre Dame. It was just really that Virginia Tech game over the weekend that was their first stumbling block. But Virginia Tech's better than NC State, and NC State's banged up. Devin Daniels is just a huge, huge loss for them, obviously, offensively. Even at the defensive end, he's a really good player at the other end, guarding his man as well. And now he's out for the season. DJ Funderburk, who's been here forever, is now questionable as well for this game. So you could be dealing with a depleted, shorthanded NC State team, and not just shorthanded, but arguably their 2 best players maybe missing in action tonight. I've definitely got to look form in toward the Virginia side here, -6.5. They have shown some ability to cover on the road. They did in their last 3 prior to the loss at Virginia Tech, and certainly off the loss, I'd expect them to be better. The last time they lost was against Gonzaga. They hadn't lost since then, prior to the Virginia Tech game. And the game after the Gonzaga loss, they won and covered, won by 9 at Notre Dame. And a win by 9 here gets the job done. So I like Virginia -6.5. I just think the short-handed NC State team, how are they going to score? And you would think Virginia really ramps it up defensively off the loss. So it could be tough sledding trying to get points and the ball to go through the bucket for this Wolfpack team tonight. Conor, what do you think here, Virginia, NC State?
Yeah, if NC State was fully healthy, I'd take these 6.5 points. I think at home, this is their best place they'd be. They cover, but with Funderburg, all these guys, Verling, Daniels is out for the season. Graham,
that's the big one.
Yeah, it's just I can't do it. NC State's been good, and they've been great at home. They've covered numbers all year. So if they were healthy, I'd love to take the Wolfpack here. I'm going to stay away. I have a small lean to Virginia, but I haven't bet it yet.
All right, SMU and Tulsa, intriguing game. I don't doubt that SMU's a little bit better team, but do you want to lay 3 on the road with them now? 135.5 the total. I don't. And I know Tulsa's kind of, you're waiting for them to take that step back. I don't think the Tulsa team is as good as they showed early in the conference season. Remember, they do have that incredible win against Houston on their resume, Tulsa, but I think they've kind of overachieved. They've outperformed what I truly think the level of this team is. And we're starting to see them come back to earth just a little bit. They lost 2 of their last 3 at Houston, at Temple. That was the loss that kind of opens your eyes and says, maybe they're going to start to backtrack a little bit. They did bounce back, beat East Carolina on the road in their last game, but they have been a tough team at home. They beat Houston at home. They beat Memphis at home. I don't doubt SMU's better than Tulsa. I really believe they've just got certainly more offensive talent. And when they are locked in and they dig in on defense, they can be pretty good at that end of the floor as well. It was a rough game for them against Houston, but no shame in that. 7-48 loss. Does bother me they're on a point spread tailspin as well. Just 1-6, this SMU Mustangs team against the spread in their last 7 games. So it's a dilemma game. I think SMU wins. I think they're the better team, but Tulsa's shown up in these home spots all season, and now they're getting 3. I don't want to lay this much now that it's -3. So back and forth I'm going, which means I'm going to stay out of this game. But a good one to watch, in my opinion. Interesting one. SMU Tulsa, Conor, what do you like?
Yeah, I think SMU's got the more talent, but Tulsa, I think's got the grit. This is one of my last ones I have circled. I'm leaning Tulsa, and I might bet them. I think catching 3 at home, they can win outright or definitely cover this one. So I'm leaning, like you said, SMU's just kind of been a tailspin lately, and they haven't shot the ball well. They haven't scored like they did early on. So I lean Tulsa here catching the 3.
All right, lean to Tulsa +3. Last game on the main board. It's a good one. Kentucky, Missouri. Missouri 4.5, 5-point home favorites, 136.5 the total. I think some of those Missouri struggles against a really wretched TCU team in the Big 12 SEC Challenge maybe were a product of looking ahead to this big matchup against Kentucky. I think Missouri's the right side here. I don't see enough that I trust and like in Kentucky. You could argue the number, might be a little shade of value toward Kentucky, but, Kentucky continues to have tough time covering numbers, and their road play has not given me any, sort of hope or expectation or confidence that they can get the job done here. So, the number's fair. It's no bargain for Missouri, but I like Missouri here a little bit, -4.5. I wouldn't want Kentucky here in this one, but and Kentucky's got to get one of these road wins at some point if they really hope to be, a true factor in the tournament hopes. But to me, we are looking at it with Kentucky. They haven't shown me enough on the road to trust them, and Missouri's been a good basketball team, so I like Missouri at least a little bit here in this game. Conor, what do you think? Kentucky, Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri had the weird game against TCU, the strange, I guess maybe it's just a weird scheduling, but all those points just looked like a totally different basketball team. Got the win in overtime, gave up all those points. I lean Missouri. Kentucky just hasn't got it done. I took them early on. But they've just been losers against the spread and straight up. So there's nothing. They got to get going tonight. So if you like Kentucky, tonight's got to kind of be the night to get going. And I don't know if 4.5 is enough for me to bet with them. I wanted like 6.5, 7 here. I'd look Kentucky's way. So with that, I got to lean to Missouri. I haven't bet it yet.
All right, lean to Missouri for Conor. And the added board, I didn't bet anything, but I lean with the line movement in both games. The two favorites, Stephen F. Austin and Lamar. Incarnate Word, not very good. I can understand why Lamar took money there in that game, but just leans. I didn't bet either of the added board games. What about you, Conor?
Yeah, no way. I'm not betting these ones.
They're not great. Yeah, they're not the greatest games. They're big favorites, and conference time, I'm always, a little bit more leery of laying the bigger numbers unless it's a really good spot, kind of like what I think about St. Louis tonight. I think they're in a really good spot. That's why I laid the lumber there. All right, before we get to best bets, let's see if we can get a word from our sponsors, Conor. What are they saying today?
Oh, yeah. Go to mybookie.ag. Everyone needs multiple books. You got to have at least probably 2 or 3 of them. Go to mybookie.ag at promo code PubSports. You get 50% off your debit or credit. You get 100% off the Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin, put 1,000, you get 1,000, and minimum you got to put in $100. So you put in 100, the Bitcoin, put it into cash, you get 100, so 200 back. Promo code PubSports, mybookie.ag, and go to bulksupplements.com at promo code PubSports to get 5 or 10% off your order. Get all the creatine, protein, vitamins, all the shit to get jacked up. And lastly, go to builtbar.com. These snacks are good. You get 20% off your order. Promo code PubSports, double chocolate, mint brownie, coconut. There we go.
All right, good stuff. Now, Ski Profit and I have the NBA show coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. But Conor's back with me tomorrow, with me, with Ski, with Donnie Rightside for the Super Bowl prop show. Make sure you join us for that Thursday, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. I'm finishing my entire Super Bowl card and locking in a lot of the bets over the next several hours by the end of the night. So I'll have my full list of props ready to rock for tomorrow on the show. And I'm definitely got a bunch that I like. So looking forward to exchanging our opinions on the Super Bowl props tomorrow. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, which has been the Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy time slot all football season, while we're bringing the crew on board to break down the props tomorrow. So make sure you join us for that. Conor, we'll start with you. Best bets for this Wednesday night college basketball card.
Okay, I'm going to give kind of my 2. I go with side. I like Tulane catching the points, but I'm going to go with the total. That's South Carolina, Florida. I think it gets over 152. So I'm on the over South Carolina, Florida, 152.
Yeah, I agree with that one. South Carolina, Florida, over 150. We'll give you 151.5. Even better number with that for Conor with his best bet for this card. Let's see, where are we going to go for a best bet here tonight? I'm looking. I'm going to go Virginia. I just get that sense. It's a great spot. NC State is completely depleted. I just think this is the spot. And let's not forget, before the Virginia Tech loss on the road, and that's a good Va Tech team, Virginia won and covered at Clemson, won and covered at Boston College, won and covered at Notre Dame. So they have shown an ability to go on the road, win games, cover numbers in ACC play, and they're off a loss. I expect them to show up. And NC State, again, depleted, including the best player, Devin Daniels, out. I think it shows up tonight, and they struggle. Virginia laying the spot, -6.5 against NC State for my best bet. That'll wrap up the show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. Great turnout as always. Great interaction in the chat. Thanks for tuning in every day. Guys. We're back tomorrow on the college basketball closing time show at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, with a Thursday edition of the show. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you again tomorrow for another edition of the college basketball closing time.